Hello and welcome to episode 37 of the Boot Nerds podcast, but the episode number does not matter because this is the first annual Boot Nerds Boot Awards, which is, I think, the greatest name ever. Jay, what's going on?
I'm good. I'm excited. This is going to be, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
It is. We were going to do this later in the year. This was always planned for this podcast, but we kind of figured that most of the year is over. Pretty much what's coming out is already out. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are curious for what our opinions are on the best and worst of what 2019 had to offer in the football boot world.
Exactly. And do also keep in mind that this is something that's, of course, going to come back at the end of the year. We're really going to round it up and look at the best colorways and, best releases and all that stuff. So it's not going to be taken away from there. It's also just coming now. Because you want it, and we want to make it. So if you like that concept and that idea, you should leave a like on the video. If you have any questions, you should leave them in the comment section right down below. And I think without further ado, Josh, let's take away the Boot Nerds Annual Boot Awards.
Okay, well, we have 18 prestigious awards to give out. I feel like we should have had like trophies made out and stuff, but
yeah.
We didn't plan that far ahead, unfortunately.
No, we didn't.
So, first award, most comfortable boot of 2019.
See, that's a very, very, it's a very, I would say, prestigious award. Now we are talking about all of them are very prestigious because obviously it's the Boot Nerds Awards, right?
But there's some here that are not so prestigious, I can assure you.
Okay, fair enough. I would still say that, the most comfortable boot of the year is an award every brand would want to win. But for me, there's no arguing. It would be the Mizuno Regular 3 made in Japan's. Simple.
You know what? I don't disagree with you. I really like that boot. I find it very comfortable, but maybe I'm going to have a little bit of an off-the-wall pick here, and we don't necessarily have to agree on all of these, but for me, what I found to be surprisingly comfortable was the Mizuno Mercurial Neo II Beta.
I know.
I really, because you know what? We were in Japan testing the Rebulas all day, and we're both like, wow, these are so comfortable and stuff, but by the end of the day, wearing the boots for 8 hours on the pitch, it was a long time. I was like, man, I can't wait to get these off my feet. And then it's like, oh, you know what? We got to do some shots with the Neo. And I'm like, oh no, my feet are going to die. And then I put them on and I'm like, oh my gosh, these feel even more comfortable. They felt great. Really
comfortable, yeah.
So yeah. Neo II Beta for me, just because it kind of feels like you're not wearing any boots.
Yeah, I agree with you. Also, special shout out to the PUMA King Platinums and the Techcraft Vapors for me. Also really, really comfortable. And again, all of them are leather boots. And that is simply just because leather boots tend to be the most comfortable. That's just the way it is for me.
Which is why we are transitioning into award number 2, which is the best leather boot of 2019. And I think this is an interesting award because there was a little bit of like a boost in leather football boots this year because 17 and 18, we saw a lot of leather boots kind of dying away and getting killed off for the most part. But in 2019, there was definitely a little bit of a spike. So what would you say was the best leather boot of the year?
Tiempo, I'm kidding. It's not a bad, it's actually a really good football boot. It's just not the boot I want it to be. I would personally say that the boot I've enjoyed the most would be the Mercurial Neo II Betas because they have a little bit of everything. They're comfortable, they're very light, they have that speed boot feel, and it's between that and the Techcraft Vapors for me. I love the Vapors a bit more for their aggressiveness, but overall as a boot, I think the Neos are going to take it.
I like both of those picks. And there was a time when I would have said Rebula 3. But honestly, the PUMA King Platinum for me, just based on, it's not the best leather quality in comparison to the other 3 we just mentioned, but just for the sake of purity, it's leather and nothing else. And once that's broken in and softens up a little bit, I love the feel of that boot. So for me, it's the King Platinum.
Wow. Okay. Interesting choice.
Which
the
brings
Neo II
us,
Betas and the King Platinum.
And the King Platinum. Which brings us to the best lockdown of 2019. Something that's very important to a lot of people when it comes to football boots, me included, understandably so. What boot has the best lockdown, Jay?
For me, it was very, very simple, and we've kind of talked about it before. I'm just redoing the laces here, so it looks good. Vapor 13 Elite in Flyknit, simply because of these here high tenacity yarns that they've slapped inside of them. You get such a fine lockdown on top of a very, very soft boot. So for me, this is the clear winner.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you can throw the Superfly in there as well, especially if you're after some added ankle support. And you know what? Quick shout out. The Mercurial is the clear winner here, but a runner-up, if we're going to give a runner-up here, I think has to go to the PUMA ONE 5.1, 4.
Yes.
Which one are we on now?
We are on the one 5.1. That is the one you're thinking of, I guess.
Yeah.
Is it that one or the other one?
No, it's the new one.
Okay, great. So this is the one then. But yeah, you're right with the whole stiffer sidewall thing they've made here. It's actually surprisingly good for what you think you'd get in one of these PUMA ONE 5.1s. So yeah, that is the one I would say that really challenges the Vapor 1.3 Elite.
It's enough one jokes for this video.
Yeah. There's room for one more.
Hey. Okay, a little bit of a different award. The best update of 2019. So this is a football boot that maybe wasn't so great. It got a new model, and now it's a lot better than it used to be. I think there's quite a few really good choices for this, but I'm curious what you've picked.
For me, it's either the Adidas 19.1. Not that the 18.1 was bad, but this was just such a leap in. Well, it just fixed everything that I didn't really like about the 18.1 and turned it into a fantastic boot that I really enjoy. And also the Umbro UX Acuro 3s, because the 2s were, they were a train wreck. The 3s here are actually very, very good football boots. The whole heel thing, I'm not sure I'm super into that. It feels kind of weird, but the boot as a whole is just a brilliant option.
Yeah, I really, really agree with you on the Umbros. It's definitely a contender, but I was kind of thinking X19 Plus was a nice improvement over the 18 Plus. At least I found that to be the case. But there's two that pop in my head as the most significant updates, and that was Rebula 2 to Rebula 3. I thought was a huge improvement because I just wasn't a huge fan of what the Rebula 2 did.
True, yeah.
And then for me, I think I have to give this award to New Balance for the Tequila V2 Pro, just because as much as I liked the first Tequila, I think what they did is exactly what an update should be. Let's take all the elements that were great about the last one and improve upon what could be improved. And that's exactly what they did. It's still not a perfect pair of football boots. I don't think there is a perfect pair out there. But in terms of what a second generation or an improved variation of a boot should be, I think it's exactly that.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head with both of those boots, actually. Very solid. But if you can only choose one, what would you say?
Just in terms of like the quality of the final product, I think the Rebula 3 is the biggest improvement.
I think you're right, but I still want to give it to the Umbros because it's a bigger, the Rebula 2s were still okay. They messed up my heels, but they were okay boots. Rebula 3s are obviously amazing, but the jump in quality from the UX Acura 2 to 3, for me, is a bigger, more significant.
You're right. They went from a boot that was borderline unwearable to a really good product. It's good. Umbro, if you're watching, good job. All right.
Right, next one.
Which brings us to one of the not so prestigious awards in the Boot Nerds Boot Awards, and that is the worst update of 2019. Which new model completely ruined what they had before?
See, I've thought long and hard about this, and I don't really know if there is like a boot that's gone completely, the Pret 19 Plus wasn't a good update. It was just it wasn't really an update. They just added like a piece of rubber. Was that released this year? I guess it was.
As long as it's current, as long as it's a current model, I'm okay with it.
But I'm gonna give it like the PUMA Future 4.1. I didn't really enjoy that update as much because it's not really like it's a different. The update on that one was just a different texture on it, right? And also from where we were, I'm not 100% sure that's what I wanted in a boot as well. It became a bit more chunky for me, and I know all the young guys rave about it, but for me, it's probably not where I wanted the boot to go. And then also the Tiempo. Again, it's not a bad boot by any means. Probably is a better football boot than the 7 from an objective perspective. But again, it's not. It kind of killed the joy of the Tiempo for me.
Yeah, I kind of I agree with you. Nobody really made a huge misstep this year in terms of changing something that they shouldn't have changed so drastically to the point where you're like, oh my God, this is a mistake. But for me, I think it is the Tiempo because I expected so much from it. And the Tiempo Legend 7 launch was such success, and it was legitimately way better than everything else that was available at that time. So I kind of expected the same giant leap with the Tiempo Legend 8, which maybe is an unrealistic expectation, but it did not meet my expectations. And again, it's arguably a better boot than the Legend 7, but by 1-2%, it's not a significant enough jump.
No, and then maybe, and maybe I'm going to get a bit of stick for this, but we shouldn't forget the Nemesis 19 Plus here. I don't think this is a bad boot, and especially the 19.1 is a significant update, but I'm not sure I really, I'd probably, I don't know. I just didn't think it hasn't done what it was supposed to do. It's probably a nicer football boot than the 18 Plus, but again, it just didn't do, what I expected Adidas to do with the boot. 19.1s, on the other hand, they are great and a big improvement. So,
yeah,
a little bit disappointed with these as well. The Nemesis 19 Plus.
I think for me, it's the Tiempo. It's got to be the Tiempo for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Future.
Yeah. But the Nemesis, I don't have this on the board of awards here, but I'm just going to make up a new award right here on the spot.
Wow.
The weirdest football boot of 2019.
Yes.
I think it has to be the Nemesis 19 Plus, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
The bacon boot.
I think that's a unanimous one. We'll just leave it at that. Weirdest boot of 2019. Congratulations, Adidas. The Nemesis 19 Plus is weird.
Or the Grizzly Futures with the smiley face on, because they're just creepy.
Yeah, that's
But the Nemesis, 100% the Nemesis. Yes, let's move on.
Cool. The most underrated football boot of 2019. A really good boot that did not get the attention that it perhaps deserves.
See, I don't know. I didn't know how to swing this because in general, I think both the Mercurial Neo II Betas and the Repula 3 made in Japans are underrated for what they deserve. But you and I have been giving them a lot of attention, and it seems like people have kind of caught on, and at least the nerds, you guys who understand, you have kind of caught on and realized, okay, these boots are actually flipping amazing. I do think that the Elite Repulas and the made in Indonesia Neo 2s, very underrated. I would also say Tequila 2s and the Umbro UX Accio 3s, super underrated boots.
Yeah, I think we can share the award with all of those boots. But just a little side discussion here about the made in Japan Mizuno products. We say that they're underrated, and definitely to the non-boot nerds out there, they don't even know that those boots exist. But are they underrated simply based on the fact that they're also the most expensive boots out there and people are unwilling to pay that much money? Like if the Repula 3 and the Neo 2, the made in Japan variations were 200 euros rather than 300 euros, would they be as underrated?
I still think, yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, probably. I think so, yeah, because it's just not, and let's be honest here, Mizuno are just not as sexy as Adi and Nike and Puma, because they don't do the marketing. They simply don't spend the money, and that creates desire. And ultimately, that's how people, most people out there who aren't boot savvy and who aren't boot nerds, they rate boots. So I would say definitely, yeah.
Okay, so I think we're happy with sharing that award with various boots, and I think PUMA ONE 5.1 at this point pretty underrated as well.
And the Platinums.
Yeah, the PUMA brand. Okay. Best takedown model of 2019.
Vapor 13 Pro, move along.
I agree with you. That's no question. the best limited edition boot of 2019.
See, this is a difficult one. And I'm really interested in hearing what you have there, because I haven't really made up my mind.
Yeah, this is a tough one, and I think the answer to this question could potentially change, because come Christmas time, we typically do see a good selection of limited edition stuff come out.
And there will be some good stuff. I can tell you right now that we will probably change it.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say. But yeah.
Here's the thing. We can't include remakes because we have a best remake award. So this has to be a limited edition colorway that we both really like. You know what? The one that comes to my mind, and I can't even remember the name of them now, but it was the white ones with all the little CR7 colorways incorporated into it. What was that called?
The Level Up.
The Level Up pack. That's the one that stands out to me, because I like the idea of a colorway that looks really good, but also, I guess, relates back to like 20 other colorways in Nike's history. I think that was it should have been a What the Mercurial, in my opinion. I always thought that was a cool concept. And that was, to me, the cleanest and most aesthetically pleasing What the Mercurial, even though it wasn't one.
I really agree with you on that one. I think a special shout out should also go to the TechCraft Vapor 13s. They have been amazing. Neo II Betas were also limited. So obviously, I mean, people know that we rank those boots highly. And since, does the X99.1 count as a remake?
No, that's a limited edition. Those are really good too.
I would say, but if I had to choose, I would probably say the TechCraft Vapors, because they are the best TechCrafts ever made, and also one of the best boots to be released this year.
Cool. All right. I'm happy with those two award winners. Congratulations to the winners, by the way. Okay, here's an interesting Boot Nerd Award that, again, maybe not so prestigious. The Boots You Would Never Wear Award. So the one boot in 2019 that has come out that you're like, you know what? I don't want to put it on my feet.
See, the problem is I have to wear everything.
Okay, but
this is like a super first world problem. But
right, let's say
the boot I'd never buy personally and put on my feet. Nemesis 19 Plus.
Okay, I had the exact same answer in mind. It's just a boot that it's fine. It's okay, but it's just not one of those boots that I wore and was like, wow, I want to continue wearing them.
And probably, a close second would be the PUMA FUTURE 4.1s, because I probably wouldn't buy those either, simply because of the fact that they're super wide and they're just too big for me. Like,
yeah, I'm surprised. I thought your answer was for sure going to be the Phantom Vision.
But, I think, I didn't even think of that. It wasn't even in my mind. I wouldn't, nah. But would I probably wear the Phantom Vision over the Nemesis? Yeah, I probably would. Wow. You know what? I probably would. I take away the color, cut it off, and wear it. I think it would be nice.
Okay, it's cool. So Nemesis 19 Plus. Sorry. Not.
Sorry, man.
The best new football. Okay, what you want to? Division. Okay, the best new football.
Bring it up. We were being so happy, man.
It's okay. I needed to bring it up at some point. It's become a weekly occurrence. Every podcast has to have a mention of your nemesis. The best new football boot technology of 2019, and this is a really interesting one, and I think a tricky one as well. But what is it?
Yes. So the biggest innovation for me, it could have been, many things. Also because I think it's difficult to distinguish what is new and what is existing tech that has been tweaked into being utterly brilliant. Like, what have we seen before? What haven't we seen before? I really liked what PUMA did with the whole. Is it speed mesh on the outside of the 151? I think that's a brilliant way of really using mesh to make, basically give you a more stable boot. Of course, the Vapor 13 high tenacity yarns really made a big difference. And then also the, what's it called? The D30, yeah, I thought so. D30 on the UX Acuros, which is this like shock absorbing foam. We've seen it before, but the way it works is just really, really nice. And the way they've actually also engineered it into the front part of the boot, it just gives you an effect you can actually feel. And for that, I think, going from a technology and maybe being a gimmick to something that actually works, I want to award that. But in the end, I'm going to give it high tenacity yarns because they took the Vapor 12 and turned it into something even better.
You know what? I had the same thing in my head. I think high tenacity yarn, it's kind of inspired by Flywire technology. And for those that were around for a little while now and remember back when the Superfly One came out and it introduced Flywire, and that was something that was being rolled out on all kinds of footwear across the Nike brand. That to me was like, this is real technology on a pair of football boots. And as great and effective as Flywire was, as time went on and they improved it, you kind of realize, hey, maybe there's a better way of doing this. And I think they finally figured that out in terms of giving the upper the structure that it needs, but without having the pressure points that Flywire does inevitably have.
Yeah, and the restrictions that Flywire gave you, like it was, Flywire was the skeleton that wasn't flexible. By integrating this into the whole Flywire upper, that would be terrible, huh? Flyknit upper, it basically makes it more seamless, but you get the benefits of what Flywire had to offer. So brilliant implementation.
Yeah, so that to me is the technology of the year. But shout out also on the Vapor 13, the anatomic sole plate with the Aero Track system in the forefoot. That also feels really good. That to me is one of the first sole plates that has a stiffer feel, but at the same time doesn't feel awkward in any way, which I think, not to say the Vapor 12 and Superfly 6 were awkwardly stiff, but when you compare it to what they did with this new one, it's a huge improvement.
It is, and something that really goes under the radar for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but high tenacity on,
Perhaps I would say one of the most important awards we're going to hand out today, the Best Speed Boot Award.
See, this is an interesting one, and this is probably, like, for me personally, the award that was the hardest one to decide on, because it's also probably the type of boot that's closest to my heart. I've always worn speed boots, probably the same for you. Like, this is the award that everyone wants to win, right? For me, it's a very, very close race between three boots. We have the X99.1, we have the Mizuno Neo II Betas, and we have the Vapor 13 Elites. And at last, in the end, I decided to go Vapor 13 simply because it has such a sleek feel, it has a great personal fit, and it's the sharpest, the most responsive in the game. It's got the best lockdown, and for me, ultimately, it's got the best, most aggressive outsole. That's what a speed boot needs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Nike pretty much invented the speed boot category. They've led it. I would say most of the time the category has existed, and I was just thinking about this. Remember when the Vapor 12 came out? The Superfly was a little bit different. The Vapor 12 came out and people were complaining about, one, the small swoosh, and two, why isn't it Teijin synthetic? And I don't know if it's just that people have gotten tired of complaining about that, but I have not read any comments or complaints about the new Mercurial Vapor being Flyknit.
No.
They've really taken a technology that they've obviously had in the brand for a number of years now, and I don't want to say that they've perfected it, but they have. I really don't see where they go from here. This is, to me, the pinnacle of this concept that they started back in 2014 with the Superfly 4, and it really is pretty much as good as it can get. We talked about there's no perfect boot, but I think that the current Mercurial, for what it sets out to do, is as close to perfection as we've seen from a pair of speed boots.
Yeah, they don't really have anywhere to go right now in terms of just tweaking the boot. They will really have to dig deep and do something wild to it to improve it for the Vapor 14 or whatever they're going to call it. So definitely the one for me. I am going to say, though, that if the outsole had been better on the Mercurial Neo II Beta, it would actually have been a very strong contender for first place, and I probably wouldn't have been able to decide.
Yeah, no, the Neo 2 Beta would be my personal favorite to actually wear, but I definitely think the Mercs are the best.
Agreed.
Which, speaking of, that was a very clever transition that you didn't even realize you made, because next on my list, I have the best outsole of 2019. Sole plate and stud pattern, the combination. Which one do you think did it best this year?
I'm going to say I was very, very close to picking the Phantom Venoms because I love this outsole. I would say it's probably the best outsole if you're just looking for something that is as universal as possible, because it's both very grippy and responsive, but it also has a good amount of stability and really flexes well in all directions. Also, shout out to the Rebula 3 outsole, which is wildly comfortable. And that is something that a lot of people will appreciate, but obviously, the best outsole has to be the anatomical sole plate on the Vapor 13 AeroTrack system. It's just miles ahead of everyone else when it comes to responsiveness and aggressive feeling.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the most unique in terms of feel. And I agree with you. I think the Phantom Venom is a really, I guess you could say underrated outsole just based on all the hype around other products as of late. But what you're holding in your hand right there, I think is my pick for like a personal favorite. It's the Rebula 3 outsole. I was so impressed when I put those boots on, just how natural it felt. But at the same time, when you have a sole plate that's really flexible like that one, you can often run into issues with it just feeling a little bit flimsy, which you might kind of expect it to feel like that based on how it feels in hand. But once you actually wear it, man, it's really, really good. That D-Flex groove system that they've incorporated in there, just the way that the midfoot maintains rigidity, but also has this very slight amount of like twisting to it in terms of how it can move with your foot. It just feels extremely natural.
But that's because it does move naturally with your foot. You know, it gives you the stability where you need, and even on the outside of the forefoot, where the D-Flex groove allows the inside of the forefoot, so to speak, to really flex and twist, you still get that stable sensation on the outside. And I agree, brilliant execution, very, very comfortable, but it's just a little bit too, well, unaggressive and too nice for my taste as a speed boot lover.
You know what? Yeah, it's different taste for sure. But what I like about that Rebula sole plate is that no matter how you bend your foot, it feels like the sole plate is still connected on the bottom of your foot. There's never anything that's pulling away, which is a sensation that you get with a slightly stiffer sole plate. So it's what you like. You can go with Mercurials. I like the Rebula outsole.
Fair enough. And I think from the everyday user would probably appreciate the Rebulas more.
Possibly.
Probably.
I don't know about that. I think the Mercurial is the most popular boot on the market. So, next award here, the best touch on a football boot in 2019. And again, another very opinion-based award because everyone likes something a little bit different. But Jay, what do you think had the best touch?
I think we should mention the COPA 19 Plus here. Because it's a boot we haven't mentioned a lot, and it's kind of been forgotten in 2019 because there's been so much other good stuff, both leather and like laceless. Well, not laceless. It's still the best laceless boot, but it has this really unique, very thick, plush, elegant touch. If you're into that, I would argue the Copa is the best. From an overall touch perspective, I very much like the Rebulas. I think they have a great balance between both being sharp and elegant and plushy, leathery, elegant on the ball. If you're into crisp touches, well, take a pick between the Vapor 13 and the Neo II Betas and the X 19.1s. Well, 99.1s actually, they're better.
Yeah.
So, again, it's what you want.
I agree with you. I think the COPA 19 Plus is deserving of this award simply based on the fact that the touch is not only excellent, but it's also unlike anything else. I think that's what puts it over the edge for this award is that it is legitimately the only thing like it. Where as good as the touch is on a pair of Mercurials, as an example, you're going to get a somewhat similar touch on the ball from the Phantom Venom, you could argue.
Yeah.
Right? It's just knitted uppers tend to feel like knitted uppers, and what you get from the COPA 19 Plus, it's just special, and there's no other way to put it.
And when you say touch to me, I think COPA 19 Plus. That's the way it is.
Yeah. Okay, good. congratulations to the COPA 19 Plus. I'm picturing in my head like the boots like just walking onto a stage.
I know the guy who made it will be very, very happy to hear this. So congratulations, Jorma, as well. You made the best boot for touch in 2019 as well.
It's good. It's a good award. The best remake of 2019, and there was lots of these this year. Mm-hmm. Which one would you say is deserving?
I think it's between, for me, no, it's the T90 Laser ones. It's easy.
Yeah, I think it has to be that boot.
Yeah.
Not only from a popularity standpoint, but it stayed so true to the original with the upper. It's so unique in comparison to everything else. And also, I think a boot that has actually held up really well. It's bulky by today's standards, but it's definitely very wearable. And I think a great example is what we just saw with the F50.6 or XF50 or whatever that has got to be the most confusing name for a pair of football boots. I don't even know. The box, what does the box say?
It says
F50 FG.
I'm
looking at it right now.
Yeah. What are what?
Not a
it's
good name.
It's the same thing with the X99.1. It's not called X99.1. It's called 99X19. 99X19 on the box. Like, how are you supposed to deal with that? Yeah. Best
Great
remake,
name.
T90 Laser 1. Worst remake then?
Oh, worst remake. You're just adding an award in there.
Yeah.
I think the worst remake is also... I don't view this as a negative award. I think it has to be this new F50.6.
Yeah.
Because it's such a uncalled for remake. Like there's so many amazing F50s that they could have remade. And they legitimate...
Did you see the comments on the last video? People were just saying what I have basically been talking internally with people in Unisport about. Like, bring back the F50 pluses, man. Give us the gold version. Give us the launch colorway, something. Give us the OG F50. Like, give us the Adi Zeros. Something. And then give us these.
Yeah. Almost any other F50 model would have been better. But you know what? I also applaud them because it's so weird, but it's one of those boots that you try it on now. And even though they have tweaked the shape, I don't know if you saw the video that I put up, but I just held the OG and the new remake side by side with the toe box. And the toe box on the original is literally a square angle. It's incredible. So even with an improved fit, it's still one of those boots that you put on your feet and you're like, oh my God, this is shocking. And then I was also reminded when putting them on of how inconvenient all of that Velcro is getting stuck to the laces as you tie them up. And then the top of the tongue, it sticks to your socks and then pulls all the threads out. Oh man.
Yeah, and they're just slippery inside. I mean, even if I took off the lace cover, which I was very close to doing, I figured, I'm not going to wear them anyway, so I'll leave it on.
Yeah, pretty brutal, but also very cool. Thank you for making that, Adidas. Which transitions us perfectly into the most hated football boot of 2019. And this can be our opinions. This could be a general opinion amongst the people. It can be a boot. It can be a colorway. It can be whatever you want it to be. But what do you say is the most hated football boot of 2019?
Well, for me, I don't think I have to mention it. Phantom flipping Vision. Like, I still think it's the most ridiculously redundant boot out there. Just scrap it, okay? Just improve on it. Just take it away, man. But I also think that we have given a good amount of hate to the Tiempo Legend 8 and to the Nemesis. And I think that maybe, there is a general trend towards the Nemesis not being the most liked boot because of how it looks. But I would say for me, Phantom Vision.
Phantom Vision for you. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you on that, but I think I want to say the Nemesis, but I don't think that the hopes were set so high for people with the Nemesis based on the previous two, right? It's always been an interesting kind of off the wall concept, but one that has never been received all that well. I think it has to be the Tiempo. I was very surprised by the response. I think longtime Tiempo fans are not happy, and this is almost the return of the Predator type situation where it's like the OG Predator heads are like, okay, this isn't a Predator. What are you doing? So I think it has to go to the Tiempo just based on the response that I saw from the public and my own opinion. I just, as good as I think the boots are, it's not what I was expecting and what I had hoped for from a brand new Tiempo.
Yeah, I was the other day shooting a video with Will John, and I thought, damn, this leather is soft and they are so comfortable, but it's just not a Tiempo anymore.
Yeah, cool. Which brings us to these are all very similar. Okay, it's the last award before the big one. I don't even know if we're going to answer this one, but the biggest fail of 2019.
Now where do we even begin? I want to say that I think the recent remake of the F50.6 is up there. I still also really think that Nike not replacing the Phantom Vision so far, at least, has been a fail. So I would argue that it's one of those.
So yeah, I have two interesting ones that you probably didn't think about. One is both a win and a fail at the same time, and it's the return of the Lotto laceless boot, because it's something that I think a lot of people were very excited about, including myself. And the final product is actually very good, but for them to have the audacity to not copy entirely, but copy enough of the Predator is a bit of a fail, honestly, because there's no ignoring it. That's the thing, right? And that was the response that I got from a lot of people. It's like, hey, this is good. I actually think it's better than the Predator, but it's ultimately based off of
it's a copy. I completely forgot about that. You're absolutely right. That takes the one for me.
That's a fail. Go ahead.
Okay. Under Armour. What is going on? So they had the Spotlight. It was a disaster. They changed it, removed the zipper. It was still kind of a disaster. Then they replaced the Magnetico, which was a disaster because it broke all the time, with a boot that you can't really get your hands on. Then now they have two boots that look kind of similar. They have the Magnetico controls and it's just there's so much confusion around, and they actually look like nice boots, but the whole go-to-market strategy has just been awful. Like, for me, that's also a big fail. I actually want to try the boots that Shaka's wearing, the knitted ones, the control ones. Look at.
What, you think it's a bad idea to release an exciting product and then completely ignore your entire consumer base?
No, that's the new way of doing business, my man.
Okay, you're right. That is a huge fail on Under Armour's part, and who knows what they're doing with that. But I still think, and this could be the fail of the year award for the last several years, and that is just Messi, arguably the best player in the world, arguably the best player of all time, still having a completely not relevant to anything, nobody cares what the heck it is, football boot. How is it possible that Adidas can't sort this guy out with something that people are even remotely interested in?
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. I still don't think it's a fail because, again, expectations probably haven't been too high. But you're right. It's a good call. It's a good call.
Yeah, but should expectations be low? We're talking about Messi.
But what can Adidas do these days? They've tried everything. They've given him signature colorways of the F50. They gave him his flipping own line. They've given him like unique 1010 R boots. They've given him everything. The only big fail I would say right now these days is that he actually wears a boot that you and I can't get our hands on. Then if you release the Messi colorway, just make it like Messi's boots. For Christ's sake, just give us, as the consumer, what we can clearly see he's wearing. I mean, just like Ronaldo in 2014 with the Superfly, make it available if it's there.
Yeah.
If it's a Messi colorway, just make it like Messi has it. End of discussion. Fail.
Right, but again, we've talked about this on the podcast before. It's the Messi and Ronaldo comparison is something that everyone talks about, and you can have your opinion on who's the better player and who's the best of all time or whatever, but when it comes to boots, like it's not even close.
No.
It's
and
worlds apart.
That's what I mean. You know, maybe it's just that Messi doesn't have the same appeal, so it's not a fail on Adidas's part per se.
I don't know. I would not. I can't.
But we're
pin the blame
spending
on
too
Messi.
much time on this, my man. Let's move on and say that it's Lotto. Yeah, step up.
I think so. I think that was a bit of a fail. So, which brings us to the final award of the Boot Nerds Boot Awards, and that is the Boot of the Year. What is deserving of being crowned the best football boot all around, for whatever reason you want to justify it, of 2019?
See, this is a tough one. It depends on what we're judging on, right? If we judge the best boot of 2019 on the boot that I right now would go out and buy with my own money, I would have to choose the Vapor 13, simply because it is, for me, the boot that gives me the most value for what I'm looking for. It excels and is number one in so many areas. And I think for that, you know, even though it is it's pretty expensive, it's just the best. Value for money wise, I probably point to the PUMA King Platinums. I think they're very, very good for what you pay. And I mean, yeah, the any of the made in Japan Mizuno boots could be the best boots of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mizuno had a very strong year. The PUMA King Platinum is a boot that I did not expect, didn't see coming, and it really impressed me. Not that I think it's going to do well long term, but I'm glad that they did it. But for me, I think what the football boot industry has become, it's all about tech and what has never been done before. And I think if you were to take the Mercurial Vapor 13 back in time 10 years and show people what speed boots and what football boots would eventually become, that's such a great representation of what technology in a football boot can create, right? Because we see so many gimmicky technologies these days. And as much as they've jammed into that one boot, everything is there for a reason. Everything legitimately works, and it works all well together. So for me, the Mercurial Vapor 13, it is not only the best Mercurial Nike has ever made, it's kind of the pinnacle of high-tech football boots. So for that reason, it has to be the boot of the year for me.
What a reply. What a response, my man. That was beautiful. I'm almost getting the chills here. That was actually great. I was going to argue about Mizuno and, all their high quality, but, I'm sold. Vapor 13. Easy. Yeah. You're right. It's just a technological marvel because it works. They've implemented, you can talk about all their, marketing strategies and PR stores and all that jazz, but it works. It's high tech and it flipping works. And it's new. It's innovative. It's all that stuff. Yes.
Great.
Take a bow.
Cool.
13.
And that was the first annual not SR4U Boot Nerd Boot Awards.
Oh my God. Denied.
Oh man. Sorry. I would like to invite all of the Boot Nerds audience to have your own answers to all of these awards down below in the comments, because I'm legitimately curious to hear what people have to say. I almost claimed that whole Boot Awards thing for myself.
That is the biggest denial I've ever seen in my life. But but I think you actually should go, guys, and try to put your own awards in the comment section right down below. You can call them SR4U Boot Awards or whatever you want to do. And I look forward to actually seeing the SR4U Boot Awards on your page. Well, I wonder how you're going to do the Boot Awards without any boots.
I've got plenty left.
Yeah, okay.
Some have perished in the great SR4U poo flood of 2019, but there are plenty survived, and we're good. So we have 10 minutes left, Jay. Let's answer some questions from the people.
What's the best stop pattern ever?
Oh, geez.
The best stop pattern ever.
Oh, man.
You could argue, right, that it would be the outsole on the Mercurial and what they did back in 1998 and took on to the Match Mercurial, which I think is one of the best ever. But I would also argue, and you can talk while I get it, that the Messi Gambit Tracks outsole is one of the best ever. But you talk.
That's a little bit of a controversial pick, but I'll let you explain yourself. For me, I mean, I think the latest generation of any given Mercurial stud pattern is typically pretty good. So the Vapor 13 Superfly 7, what currently is on offer, I think is pretty much as aggressive as it gets and pretty much as aggressive as we've ever seen from a firm ground stud pattern. All time, I really thought that what was a unique stud pattern that also performed really well and was also very popular for a long time amongst professional players. I actually have it right here.
Ooh,
the
Intertract.
Intertract. Very unique, really good. Something we don't really have anything like anymore, and pretty cool.
And I actually think, this reminds me a little bit of the feeling of the Intertract outsole, because it has those really big blades that digs in really well, gives a lot of stability on top of that. Explain
yourself with this Messi pick.
So the Messi Gambit Tracks for me is a funny one, because not only because it has a cool little Messi logo on the stud, which I think is one of the best things ever. I'm kidding, by the way. But I just think that this has a very interesting way of, the way the studs have been made. So they're actually kind of small in the sense that they penetrate the ground really easily. They dig in very well. And then they have these big flat surfaces and a very angular design to them that I enjoy quite a lot. I mean, it just feels nimble as the Mercurial doesn't, in the sense that the Mercurial is very grip and push back, move forward, rrr. Whereas this gives you a lot of that aggressiveness in the traction. You really feel you can shift some power to the ground like that. But it's also still very nimble, and it doesn't feel sticky when you start to rotate. And for that, combined with the stiffness of the plate, especially in the midfoot, and how it bounces back when you have the snapback, for me, one of the most complete outsoles ever, and probably one of the things that, if I was to slap an outsole on my favorite Adidas boot, the COPA 19 Plus, this would be it. It would kind of complete it for me.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to, I think the 2014 F50 stud pattern was really good. I really like that. And then just the classic Predator TRX FG stud pattern that was on Manias. It was on Adi Pures. You didn't like that stud pattern?
With those. You could kill a man with those. The SG ones, right? Or the FGs?
No, just the firm ground. Just the FGs.
You could still kill a man with those.
Yeah, that's good.
I was going to say something very inappropriate. I'm not going to say it. I was going to mention something with Phantom Vision, but let's move on. Liam Cartledge, Kangaroo, Jack, and Jay. That's a great name. Let's just say Nike, Adidas, PUMA, and Mizuno made a collaboration together. Which aspects from each brand would you use to make that boot? Go.
Jeez. Well, I guess I think we could both agree right away. We would use a made in Japan Mizuno factory and materials, because I think that's the quality is unparalleled in today's football boot market. I think from a technology standpoint, I'd favor Nike, because I feel like especially if we're making a knitted boot, because I just feel like they're ahead of the game in that category. Where do you go from here? Something from Adidas and something from PUMA.
Take the Mizuno leather and build quality. Take whatever outsole technology from Nike you wanted, be it Phantom Venom or Mercurial. Take the net fit system from PUMA, and then take Adidas's understanding of making solid yet English me no speak, making solid yet very lightweight and nimble football boots, and combine that into one, and then of course use the marketing machine of Nike and Adidas really to push it. That would be pretty perfect.
Yeah, and we'd call it the Phantom Neo X1.
3000.
3000.
Yes.
0.1.
0.1. All right, one more question here from Michael Og Tuama. Hello, Jacob. And you guys are killing it with the names. I love it. Do you feel as if low-cut boots generally feel slimmer and more streamlined than high-cut boots? When I tried out the Future 2.1 last year, I almost always took the lower ones over the highs, simply because I felt that they had a tighter and slimmer feel compared to the high cuts. Those boots were too wide for me, but when I wore the lows, I didn't mind as much and actually enjoyed playing in them. Do you agree and feel the same towards other models as well? Yes and no. I'll explain later. Josh, action.
Oh, yeah, I don't disagree with you, because I think that the way that a lot of these mid-cut boots are designed is you end up with a more straight up and down opening in the heel, where a lot of low-cut boots are slightly more contoured. You end up with more of a rounded kind of cup shape, which typically will lock your heel in place better, feel a little bit more comfortable, and it's ultimately more familiar, because as we've had mid-cuts around for several years now, but it's still a relatively new thing, and your feet get used to the type of shoes that you've been wearing your entire life, and mid-cuts are still going to be relatively new. I don't know. I feel like they've evolved to a point where I don't think that there's a significant difference in terms of like feeling bulk. Like I don't wear a pair of Superflies and I'm like, oh man, I feel like there's just extra weight and material around my ankle, but it is in fact there, and it's something I would personally rather not have, but I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent. It's very model specific.
I would say, yes, I do feel that the low cuts tend to be a bit more sleek around my foot, because as you said, how I feel the material pressing in just underneath the ankle bone, like a classic pair of boots would do. And that makes me feel like, you know, the end of the boot kind of ends there, wow, I'm struggling today. Transitions into my lower ankle right there, and it makes me feel like there's simply less boot around my foot, especially with the Puma boots that are like where the colors are also, they have volume to them, right? So when you take that away, it feels like there's simply less boot, and it feels less like you're less aware of the fact that there's boot there. For me, a little bit more streamlined, less chunky, yes. On the Mercurials, for instance, not so much. On the Phantom Vision, the collar should just die.
Yeah, I don't know.
By a Predator stud.
As cool as the collar thing is, and it's obviously been very successful, I think will be a thing on football boots for the rest of time. I've always been of the opinion that it doesn't really make a lot of sense to just add more material for the sake of just adding it. Because there's really, I know some people like to make the argument that the collars do help with keeping the rubber pellets from turf getting inside the boots, which that is legitimately something that they do. But aside from that, collars do absolutely nothing, and they really don't change the feel of the boot that much either. So if it's the choice of this boot with or without a collar, I'd pick without a collar pretty much 100% of the time.
I would agree, but actually sometimes because I don't like the feel of the collar. I think it changes the feel of the boot a lot. But it doesn't change it in a positive way for me, and it doesn't change anything in terms of performance. But for me, the feel, it changes quite a lot, and that's probably why I wouldn't go high cut.
I'm very against adding things to a football boot that do absolutely nothing.
Like, you know, ACC, you mean?
I mean,
it's proven. It works. ACC works, and we have proven it, and it's scientific, and you can't say anything about it. So shut your...
Okay, I'm not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about ACC. Just going to leave it there.
Look, guys, it has been a very, very good ride. I really enjoyed making this episode. It's been fun. We're going to do more boot nerds, boot yearly, boot awards, whatever the name is going to be at the end of the year, of course. We're going to dive more into this. But we'd really love to know what your personal boot nerd boot awards of 2019 looks so far. So you should leave those in the comment section right down below. Of course, if you had just as good a time as me, you should hit the like button, smash the subscribe button in the middle of your screen, hit the bell notifications button as well. You should also leave a question for next week's episode in the comment section right down below. Go subscribe to Josh, go subscribe to Unisport, and with those words, I'm JayMike, and I approve this award.
There is one final award, and we were actually awarded the best football boot podcast of 2019. Did you know that?
By Lionel Messi and CR7 themselves.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And it's a secret award, so we can't show it, but it's legit.
we've also awarded this award to ourselves. Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching.
Hi.